For the longest time, the moon was just a quick trip, right? Plant a flag, grab some rocks, and head home. But that's all changing. The new goal is so much bigger. We're not just visiting anymore. The plan? It's to stay. So let's get into the blueprint for humanity's very first city on another world. And that quote right there, that says it all. It's a huge shift in how we're thinking about this. We're done with the short trips. We're talking about putting down roots, a permanent settlement, a real, sustainable outpost. You see, landing was the first big challenge. Now staying, that's the real game. I mean, think about that for a second. It's an absolutely incredible question. How do you even start? You can't just call up a celestial construction company and ship everything over. No, you have to build a city from scratch in one of the most hostile places we know, with only what you can bring with you. So, where do you even begin? Well, first things first, location, location, location. And this time around, we're not heading for those nice, flat, familiar plains the Apollo crews landed on. Oh no. The new destination is the lunar South Pole, a place that's packed with scientific promise, but also a ton of danger. And just look at the difference here. Apollo missions, they played it safe. Flat, easy landings near the equator. But the Artemis missions, they're going straight for the rough stuff, the deep, dark craters and mountains of the South Pole. So why take the risk? It's simple, really. One word: water. Those permanently shadowed craters are thought to hold tons of water ice, and that is the single most important resource you need for a permanent base. Okay, so before we can even think about building habitats or science labs, we have to tackle this surprisingly huge problem. It's something the Apollo missions learned the hard way. The number one enemy isn't the vacuum or the temperature swings, it's the ground itself. So the very first piece of infrastructure we need isn't a building, it's a road. And it's all because of lunar dust. Yeah, this is not the kind of dust you just wipe off a shelf. Not even close. Lunar dust is nasty stuff. It's basically microscopic shards of glass, super sharp and abrasive. The Apollo astronauts learned this firsthand. It literally cut through the layers of their spacesuits, it scratched up their helmets so bad they could barely see, and it made their rovers overheat. And here's the kicker. When a rocket lands, its exhaust kicks up this dust and turns it into a high-speed sandblaster that will absolutely shred anything nearby. So how in the world do you deal with that? Well, there are two main ideas on the table. The first one is kind of like a quick and dirty fix. It's a spray-on polymer, which the military has nicknamed, get this, rhino's snot. Seriously. It works, it holds the dust down, but the big downside is you have to lug it all the way from Earth. The real long-term solution, the sustainable one, is to use the moon against itself. We're talking about literally melting the surface dust to create solid glass roads and landing pads. And this is where the engineering gets really, really clever. Instead of shipping a massive, power-hungry laser all the way to the moon, you could use something called a Fresnel lens. Think of it like a giant, flat, lightweight magnifying glass. It takes all that abundant sunlight and focuses it into a beam hot enough to melt the regolith. Sure, it's a slow process, but you're using a resource that's literally everywhere on the moon: sunlight. Brilliant. All right, so we've paved some roads. Now we need a place to live. And just like building any town here on Earth, it's going to happen in phases. You start with something mobile, like an RV, and then you move on to building permanent, protected homes. So before you build the house, you need a way to get around. Enter the lunar cruiser. This thing is basically a heavy-duty RV for the moon. It's a pressurized rover, which means it's a drivable, airtight habitat. 2 astronauts can live in there for a whole month, exploring and working in just their t-shirts. No more spending hours getting in and out of those bulky spacesuits every time you need to go outside. It's a total game changer. And here we go, our first real house on the moon. This is NASA's Foundation Surface Habitat. It's a super compact 3-story home designed for 4 astronauts, and the layout is really smart. The ground floor is basically the mudroom. You've got the airlock, suit storage, and science gear. Go up a level and you've got the gym and a biology lab. And then the top floor, that's the living space. The kitchen, the crew quarters, the medical station, everything you need packed in tight. But even this high-tech habitat can't protect you from everything the moon throws at you. For real long-term survival, we're going to do something amazing. We're going to take that biggest liability, remember the killer dust, and turn it into our greatest asset. And we're going to do it with one of the oldest building technologies we have: bricks. Yep, by baking that lunar dust, or regolith, we can create super strong building blocks right there on the moon. And this is the absolute genius of it. You wrap these habitats in a thick shell of lunar bricks, and suddenly you've solved a whole bunch of problems at once. You get protection from dangerous cosmic radiation, you get insulation from those wild temperature swings, and you get a shield against tiny micrometeorite impacts. That's how you turn a temporary shelter into a permanent, truly safe home. Okay, so we've got roads, we've got houses, but none of that matters if you can't turn the lights on. And power on the moon is a massive challenge, all because of its brutal day-night cycle. Just take a look at this. The moon gets 2 full weeks of continuous, blazing sunlight, followed by 2 full weeks of pitch-black darkness and a life-threatening deep freeze. Solar panels, yeah, they're fantastic during the day, but during that long lunar night, they're completely useless, and the temperatures plummet so low that your equipment can literally freeze solid and die. Forever. So, for a permanent base that needs power 24/7, there's really only one answer. You have to go nuclear. NASA's Fission Surface Power Project is working on exactly that, a small, car-sized nuclear reactor built just for the moon. So how much power are we talking? Well, a single one of these micro-reactors, like the one Rolls-Royce is designing, could crank out up to 100 kilowatts. To put that in perspective, that's enough to power a few houses here on Earth. So it's more than enough to get our first little lunar base off the ground. And as the city grows, you just add more reactors. It's scalable. Okay, roads, check. Houses, check. Power, check. We have the basic building blocks. But that brings up the big question. Why? Why go to all this trouble to build a city on the moon? Well, this is where we have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because here's the most important thing to get. The moon base isn't the final destination. It's the launch pad. It's a critical stepping stone, a gateway to the rest of the solar system. It's basically our first real test to see if we can learn to live and work sustainably off-world. And this really sums up the grand vision. The moon is where we'll test all the tech we need for Mars. It's like a cosmic gas station, where we can get resources like water from missions heading deeper into space. But more than anything, it's proof. It's proof that humanity can actually live and thrive beyond Earth. It's a statement that our future isn't tied to just one planet. You know, this whole thing, it's about unlocking a future we can barely even imagine right now. It's about laying the foundation. And it leaves you with this one incredible thought. If we can pull this off, if we can actually build a city and thrive on the moon, what's next? Where can't we go?